Hello, grade 9, how are you today? I hope you're doing fine. So today I'm gonna continue the explanation about the reproductive system, okay? Today I'm gonna talk specifically about the female reproductive system. If you didn't watch the previous video, please watch them again because they were in the introduction for this topic, okay? So let's go. Here is the anatomy, the internal anatomy of the female reproductive system, okay? Here I have the vagina. The vagina is the fibromuscular canal that connects the outside of the body to the uterus. Here is the cervix. The cervix is the neck of the uterus that joins with the upper part of the vagina. Here is the uterus. Okay, so here this whole cavity here is the uterus. Is the major female reproductive organ. Why is the major? Because it provides mechanical protection, nutrition support, and waste removal for an embryo fetus development. So it's here where the fetus will develop, okay? So this is where the baby will grow inside the moms. Outside the uterus, we have the endometrium. It's a layer in which the zygote implantation takes place. Okay, so this is a layer where, not the outside, sorry, the inside of the uterus, where the zygote takes place. So after fertilization, the zygote needs to fix somewhere. So they are gonna fix somewhere here in the endometrium, in this layer. Okay. The ovary is there is the function of production of the egg cells. So when the human is doing meiosis, remember, to produce the egg cells, it happens here in the ovaries, and the woman has two ovaries. So it has the main function is to production of the egg cells or the ovum, and also secretes some hormones that helps to development of the baby, of the woman, and everything. And finally, the fallopian tubes is the tube that leads in the ovum from the ovaries into the uterus. So after the ovary liberates here the ovum, this ovum needs to travel until it reaches the uterus. So the ovum will travel all the way here until the uterus, where it meets the sperm of the man to happens the fertilization. Okay, it can happen in both sides. So here is the main anatomy: the vagina, the cervix, the uterus, the endometrium, the ovary, and the fallopian tubes that compose the anatomy of a female reproductive system. Now let's talk more specifically about the production of the eggs and the hormones as well. It's called oogenesis. So oogenesis is the process of ovum production by meiosis. Remember, always when I talk about production of eggs or sperm, we do meiosis. At puberty, a girl has 700,000 cells that we call the cell oocytes. These oocytes are not eggs yet because they are diploid. They are 2N, but they are the precursor for the ovum. Okay, so these oocytes, there is 700,000 cells, oocytes, inside the ovaries of a woman at puberty, capable of becoming ovum. Under the influence of hormones, one oocyte per cycle develops into an ovum. So not all oocytes develop into an ovum in the same time. Just one cell, one oocyte will be transformed into an ovum. At the course of a human's life, around 400 oocytes change into ovum. So the woman has the capacity to produce 700,000 cells, but during the whole life, just produce 400, okay? How this happens? So let's go back a little bit about cell division. So here I have the oogonium, that's 2N, so diploid. It goes first into mitosis. So during mitosis, the ovary cells grow and multiplicates. So it grows and multiply, and then I call it first oocyte, but it is still 2N, okay? It's not an ovum yet. After that, when the woman reaches the puberty, it happens, okay, not before, just when she is ready. It happens the first meiosis. What happens in first meiosis? Remember, I produce 2 haploid cells. Remember, meiosis produce haploid cells. But here is a little bit different because it produces 2 cells, but they are different, okay? One of them we call polar body. It dies rapidly. Why? Because the other one takes most of the cytoplasm. The other one we call second oocyte, and it takes most of the cytoplasm. So one of them takes most of the cytoplasm, and the other one takes just a little bit, so it dies rapidly, okay? So even though in the first meiosis we produce two cells, just one of them will survive, okay? And then we call it second oocyte. And then the second oocyte already is an haploid because it already turned into it already happens the meiosis that divides the number of chromosomes. Remember, in 2. After this, it produces the second meiosis, so meiosis 2. Also, I produce 2 cells that are different. The polar body, that also dies rapidly, and now I call it ootype. That's also N, okay? That also contains most of the cytoplasm. And this ootype goes into maturation until it transforms into an ovum. So, one cell, one oogonium, multiplies and transforms into first oocyte that is also diploid. And then it goes to meiosis 1, forming the second oocyte that goes into meiosis 2, that forms the ootyte that matures and finally forms the ovum. Okay, so you're gonna see in the next video about the male. It's gonna be different, okay? This happens just for female. Now, this all needs to be led by hormones, okay? So let's understand the ovarian cycle. The ovarian cycle is the set of change that ovarian follicles undergo them to mature and release an ovum. So here I have, for example, an ovary and the tubes of polyps. Okay, just to schematize. So let's say I have one here, ovarian follicle, and I have one oocyte inside. First, it needs to develop of ovarian follicle, so it's gonna grow. Okay, so this part here, that's like the protection, will grow, it will develop. After that occurs the maturation, so occurs the meiosis, the mitosis first, then meiosis, so the maturation here. After the maturation, when the ovum is ready, it is released, okay? But what happens to this ovarian follicle from outside? So here happens the rupture of ovarian follicle and release of the ovum. And this one I call corpus luteum. And if there is no fertilization, it's just like the body eliminated, okay? After the ovum is released, it travels all the way through the tube. So it's gonna travel all the way until it reaches the uterus, where they can meet the sperm of the man, okay, if there is a relation, sexual relation. If not, it's gonna go there only and nothing happens. Everything is regulated by hormones. Remember the pituitary gland? So let's talk about them again. The pituitary gland secretes FSH. What this hormone does? It stimulates the development and maturation of the ovarian follicle. So this protection of the oocyte. So stimulate this maturation. When this matures, it secretes more estrogen. This estrogen, when I have high levels of estrogen, what happens? It stimulates the pituitary gland to secrete more LH and more FSH, okay? To secrete LH and more FSH. What this LH does? It stimulates the rupture of the ovary wall and the releasing of the ovum, okay? So the release of the ovum just happens when I have high levels of LH. So here you can see the fertile period. I need to have high levels of LH, hormone LH, for the ovulation to happen. What's ovulation? When I liberate the ovum, okay? Now, what the LH does? After the release of the ovum, is like a little cut in your ovary, in the ovary. So this little cut needs to be healed. Who triggers the healing is the LH. So LH makes the healing of the rupture ovarian follicle and transform the follicle into corpus luteum. Now, what happens to this corpus luteum? There is two possibilities, okay? So this corpus luteum. If I have a fertilization, so if my ovum meets a sperm, it occurs a fertilization. My corpus luteum will secrete progesterone. My ovary will secrete progesterone. This progesterone will continue to the progesterone will continue to be secreted until the placenta is formed. Okay, why I need that? To protect the zygote until the full placenta is formed. Okay, so this corpus luteum will protect by secreting the progesterone will protect the zygote. But what happens if I don't have fertilization? If I don't have fertilization, the corpus luteum will disintegrate because there is no function. And then it's going to produce less and less progesterone, okay? So when the woman is pregnant, it's going to secrete progesterone. When the woman is not pregnant, it's going to decrease the secretion of progesterone. Now let's talk about this menstrual cycle of the woman. The menstrual cycle represents all the periodic change in the uterine endometrium. The uterine endometrium is the layer inside the uterus, okay? The menstrual cycle is usually about 28 days, but it can change according to the woman, okay? Some women can have this shorter, someone can have this longer, but in the average is 28 days. And now we're going to talk about each phase of the menstrual cycle. The first one we called menstrual phase. So by convention, I start to count my menstrual cycle by the first day of the period. So the first day of bleeding, okay? So the first day the woman gets the period is they start the menstrual cycle or the menstrual phase. So why it's bleeding? Because the endometrium breaks down, cause the period. And why the endometrium breaks down? Because the endometrium is like a protection where the zygote can be fixed. If there is no zygote to be fixed, there is no need for this endometrium. So the body expel it, okay? So during all the cycle, the woman, after the release of the ovum, the endometrium gets thicker to accommodate the zygote in case of a fertilization. But if there is no fertilization, the endometrium, there is no function. So it's gonna like break down, okay? That's why that's what causes the period. And if there is no fertilization, the progesterone levels decrease, as we just saw, okay? If there is, the progesterone levels will increase. Now, the follicular phase. So the menstrual phase is around 1 to 5 days, also depends on the woman. After that, we call it follicular phase. It's usually when the bleeding stops. In the follicular phase, what happens? The endometrium begins to thicken again. Okay, remember, all the blood was like because the endometrium was breaking down. But now I need to prepare my body in case I want to receive a baby. So my endometrium begins to thicken again. And my estrogen levels increase. So the estrogen levels will increase. So it's around 6 to 10 days. After that is the ovulation phase. Ovulation is when I liberate my ovum. So ovulation phase, when the ovulation occurs, when my ovum is liberated from the ovary to the tube here. Okay, so when it's liberated here. And estrogen peaks. So I have the highest level of estrogen when it's happening the ovulation. And the last phase is the luteal phase. What happens in luteal phase? My endometrium continues to thicken, so it continues to be thick and thick, and I secrete progesterone by corpus luteum. Remember, so when I liberate the ovum here, my corpus luteum will stimulate the secretion of progesterone. If I receive a zygote here, I continue secreting the progesterone until my placenta is formed. If I don't receive a zygote here, my progesterone levels decrease and my endometrium starts to break down. And then we start over again, the bleeding and so on. Okay? Okay, a woman doesn't have menstrual cycles all her life. It starts with in her puberty, but it stops at a certain age. That's why women cannot have babies all her life. Okay, in the contrary of men. Men with, for example, 70 years old can be a father, but woman no, because her body has like a certain age to be fertile. Menopause is when the woman's menstrual cycles stops. Menopause comes from the Greek words menos, that means month, and pauses, that means cessation. Okay, so this menstrual cycles stops. It starts around when a woman over 40 years old has not menstruated for a year. So a woman that is more than 40 years old and has not menstruated for more than a year, then we call it in menopause. The ovaries continue to produce estrogen for a certain period, but then stops. As these hormones disappear, women may feel some discomfort, such as hot flash, mood swings, and bone loss. Okay, so maybe you are familiar with someone that's facing these symptoms. Maybe because of this imbalance of hormones, there is some discomfort. For example, mood swings, bone loss, hot flash. But sometimes some hormone supplements are prescribed to treat these symptoms. Okay, so some hormone supplements can help the woman to get some relief of these symptoms. Okay, so that's it, guys. Thank you so much, and please do the exercise from the form. Okay, thank you so much, and have a nice day.